listening to the Departure Lounge podcast with your hosts, Tom Whittle and Ger Dooley, your ticket to the home of aviation podcasts.
It's Sunday night, and you know what that means. Very good evening, everybody, to what is episode 4 of the Departure Lounge podcast. My name is Tom Whittle, and joining me as ever is my co-host, Ger Dooley. Ger, welcome to the show.
A very good evening to you, Tom. How are we doing this week, my good man?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, not too bad. It's been a bit of a stressful week, but not doing too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, well, sort of the same as well. Bit of a stressful week as well, but I'm getting back to my good old self now, and I got myself sorted and everything as well. Thanks, Tom, and thank you for your help as well throughout the weekend. To all my other good friends around me that's been there for me as well over the last few days as well, and that. So I'm back on the show, as I say, and I'm in good form.
Good stuff. So, so everybody, welcome. Obviously, as per normal, leave any feedback or comments in the chat, or any questions that you might have for our guest this evening. Feel free to drop them into the comments. But yeah, let's get into the show. So, we'll do a bit of housekeeping before we do this. As per normal, if you want to subscribe or follow either myself, Ger, or the guest this evening, you can do. The links are on the top of the screen there, as you can see. Whereas our guests, obviously down the middle there, you can see. Also, we've done away with Patreon due to the fact that, nobody had signed up to it, so we've got rid of that. But for now, we've replaced it with a little special thing for you guys. So as you can see, if you want to come onto the show and be a guest, drop us a message on the social media, platforms that you can see above, and we'll have a quick chat with you and see if you're happy to come on and that. So it's all it's all good. Also at the same time, as you can also see as well, my channel's sponsor / partnership, airspotters.com. Go check them out. I've completely forgotten to put the link in the description, but I mean it's self-explanatory anyway. But go check out my sponsors' website for all of your aviation model needs. I think we are pretty much there with the housekeeping.
Excellent stuff.
Yes, we are completely done. So once again, good evening, everyone. We've got Danielle Bean in the house. We've got Irish Transport Scenes in the house.
Well, Ger, what's up?
Yeah, so a very, very good evening to everybody.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And welcome to the fourth amazing show. And this show is going to be very good, and I'm going to let Tom now get things underway. So, indeed. Tom, you have the floor.
Indeed, and we'll go into a segment. We'll go into a segment that we are bringing back for this week, which is
the news.
This week's special guest.
So, because of last week's special show, we didn't do this, but we brought back the news to fill you in with everything that has happened over the last sort of 7 days. We're going to kick things off then with some A380 news this week, as reported on Simple Flying. And Qantas has pledged its loyalty to the A380 by stating that they will reactivate the Super Jumbo as and when they need them, and bring back all 12 of their Super Jumbos back into service by 2024. So that's fantastic news.
That's good news.
Fantastic news for the plane that seems to be doomed at the moment, and all you sort of read at the moment is doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But fantastic news that Qantas have put their backing into the plane, and we'll be seeing that for years to come. The good news, however, can't be said for the likes of Qatar Airways and China Southern, who this week have both put the A380's future in doubt. In terms of Qatar Airways, the CEO, Akbar Al-Bakr, said in an interview with Sam Shree, "There is no future for the A380. It was the wrong airplane at the wrong time. It is something that passengers love. Many like to travel on the A380. It's very quiet, and it's also very spacious. But at the end of the day, for the operator, it's really painful to keep them in the skies." So a real sort of eye-opener to what owning and owning a fleet of A380s is like there, Joe.
Do you know something, Tom? I'm just actually puzzled about that actually at the moment. And then of course Etihad Airways as well. I heard the future is in doubt with them as well. So are we seeing a slow decline of the A380 fleet? Like it's good to see Qantas actually bring the Super Jumbo back.
I know that.
Be nice.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, the likes of Qantas and British Airways, of course, as well. They've put their backing into the A380 for a while, for a while longer yet. But a slow decline is probably putting it nicely. The likes of Air France, Lufthansa, Etihad, as we've said, who I've not got it in my little news segment there, but I have seen that they've removed the A380 from their website. So
you have that right, but I'm very. Do you know something though, Tom? I'm very, very disappointed in regards of Qatar now. You know yourself how big of a fleet Qatar Airways are. Like I know, right, fair enough. The Airbus A350 now is a very, very economical airplane, and of course with the carbon fiber wings and everything. Like I suppose they want to make everything probably fuel efficient, like 4 engines seem to drain a lot of fuel, I suppose, when they're flying, whereas 2 engines seem to be more economical. Do you know what I mean? Like
back in the day, you used to have Virgin's A340-600s that used to have the slogan 4 engines, 4 long haul. Well, I don't think that's the case anymore with the with that. So I think the 2 engines and the more economical you can be is sort of the way forward.
Do you know something, Tom? What I find very, very strange is, for me now, it's going to be very strange, as I said to you, when I do ever get to make a return trip to London Heathrow, it's going to be very, very strange going there and not seeing many A380s or 747s lifting off like we used to back in the 90s and the early 2000s, of course. And then until this pandemic came in, it kind of screwed things big time too, didn't it, really? When you think of it.
Causing a massive restructure. Same thing can be said for China Southern, of course. Operational costs and lack of demand for international travel to and from China have been the main contribution for the A380's future being put into doubt with them. Of course, China Southern are the only Chinese operator of the A380. Nobody wants to go there and nobody wants to go out of China. They've been using it for cargo and pretty much underutilizing it for weeks now. So so I'm not surprised at all that they put the future into doubt.
Tom, I can take this next one if you want. I don't mind. It seems to be the next part seems to be pretty interesting. I see now, and I actually kind of feel a bit happy about this. So I think
go for it.
Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary has confirmed the airline is expected to take delivery of its first new Boeing 737 MAX in the next few days. Ryanair are expected to seat 197 people on their MAXs, designated the MAX 200, and labelled the aircraft as a game changer of the airline. What do you think of that?
I think it's probably about time. They have been sort of expecting it for the last sort of 2 years, but obviously the pandemic struck and obviously the grounding as well. But it'll be good because they've put a huge order in, so I think the quicker they can start getting those in, the quicker they can start to retire sort of the older ones that Ryanair do have in their fleet.
Like those 737-800s. So, but don't get me wrong though, Tom. Like Ryanair did get quite a new setup of 737-800s, like with the LED lights and
Yes.
everything on them. So I'd say what they're probably doing, they're probably getting rid of the older variants, like with the more brighter lights on them compared to the newer models they have now at the moment. But I think the Max might do wonders. Although it might be a bit hard for me now going to a departure gate and seeing a 737 Max outside the terminal building.
It will depend obviously what routes they put them on. I don't know what routes they'll put them on myself, but I mean purely on that sort of case. So it's one to keep an eye on, of course.
Of course, yeah. Now, Tom, if you like, I'll let you take the next segment.
Yes,
if you
we'll
want.
move on to last sort of segments because we'll move on to sort of the introducing our guest very shortly.
Exactly.
So, in other news, Romanian airline Tarom have put half of its current fleet up for sale as the airline goes through a restructuring phase. The aircraft up for sale at the moment are all 4 of their Airbus A318s, which is a real shame because they are a rare breed, but at the same time they are also undesirable. All 4 of their 737-300s, the old classics, all 4 of their 737-700s, and 2 of their ATR-42s. Now, I've got the prices here for what they're up for. So if you've got a few sort of spare quid, euro, etc. in your back pocket, listen up. The A318s, if you fancy one of those, will cost you around $6.5 million US.
Wow.
The 737-300s will cost you somewhere between 1.4 million and 6.4 million US dollars. The 737-700s will cost between 10.7 million and 13 million US dollars, and the ATRs will cost you a very nice sum of 3.9 US dollars. So not much.
Not much, but that's interesting now, Tom. So basically, what's happening? Tarom, which is the Polish airline, which I love, or Romanian, which I love. I love that airline. I love seeing their 737 Max now back in the air again. Actually, believe it or not, there was one actually in Dublin there only last week, I believe. So welcome back to the Tarom 737 Max. So they're basically restructuring the whole fleet, then, if they're really at this stage, Tom.
They are, because they struggling financially, basically, and they were doing so before the whole pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Also, at the same time, did you say that they have a 737 Max, or are you confusing them with LOT? Oh
no. No, they actually had one actually in Dublin, I believe, last week. One belonged to Tarom, actually hopped in. It was a welcome surprise, believe it or not.
Shows how much I know.
One of my friends actually I think actually managed to photograph it, believe it or not, Tom. Now, who I don't know, but I must do a bit of investigation on it.
No, that's fine. Also, then, lastly, for this week's news, deliveries this week. So from week beginning 12th of April up until today, Airbus have delivered 8 aircraft across their factory network, and Boeing have delivered just 2.
2? Wow.
Just 2, yes. So for Airbus, they delivered 2 A350-900s, one for China Eastern and one for Air France. 3 A320neos, 1 for Scandinavian, 1 for Air China, and 1 for TAP Air Portugal.
Nice.
2 A321neos, 1 for MEA in Lebanon and American, and 1 A220-300 for Delta.
Nice.
Now, Boeing's deliveries are very, very simple. They got 1 787-9, which went to China Southern, and 1 777 freighter, which went to DHL operating for Aerologic.
Nice.
So,
Wow, that's do you know something, Tom? I think I said this before. Airbus seems to be doing pretty well when it comes to the deliveries of the A350s and 900s and that. Not much about the A350 1000s, though, really, is there?
not much at the moment. Most of those are in storage, I believe. But yeah,
Yeah,
not at the
yeah,
moment, no.
yeah.
But yeah, that will wrap up the news for this week.
Excellent.
So we'll just quickly say some hellos. We've got Kevin Phillips watching, so good evening to you. He says hi, Tom, and hi, Joe.
Good evening, Kevin. Yeah, good evening, Kevin.
And yeah, we've got a good handful of people in. So yeah, welcome everybody that's watching. So yeah, let's get on to the guest. Bring the guest in.
Our special guest tonight.
Yes,
Oh,
special
yes.
guest for the
Right,
evening.
you introduce him there, Tom.
I will do.
This week's special guest.
So this week's special guest is quite popular across any sort of social media. He's amassed over 75,000 subscribers on YouTube through his high quality 4K content from Chicago. And not only does he plane spot there, but he also works there. So we're in for some fantastic stories from across the pond. Not much else to say. If you say check him out on his social medias, but a very warm welcome this evening to our special guest, Jay's O'Hare Aviation. Jay, welcome.
Good evening, guys. Welcome from Chicago, and hello. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
A very good evening, and good to have you on the show with us tonight, my good friend.
Thanks, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on and chatting to us. So yeah, how have you been this week?
Been great. Just finished up doing some video editing for the next video for this Friday, and of course, I work as a ramp controller for a certain large U.S. legacy carrier based in Dallas. I'm sure most of you would know who that is. And I work at Chicago here on the overnights usually. For now, but and I do that mostly by choice. I like that schedule, but do that at night, and then I film in the daytime and try to find some time to sleep in there and somewhere in the mix of all that. So
You're quite a busy boy then.
I try, man.
Brilliant.
You certainly are one busy man, Jay. I have to say, and so what was I going to say to you anyway? Do you work mostly daytime or nighttime shifts?
Mostly I work the overnights, and I like that. It works very well for the schedule.
Right.
Because then I can also get out there during the day and do some plane spotting and keep the channel running in that kind of section. But yeah, it's mostly that. I've been there for a couple years. Previous to that, I worked for Delta Connection for a carrier called Endeavor Air up in Minneapolis. I was a flight dispatcher for several years up there.
Mm.
And yeah, it's been kind of fun coming back home. Chicago's my home. It's where I've been grown up and all that kind of stuff. And it's been funny coming back and getting back in the thick of things here.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Wow.
So yeah. So everyone that's watching, if you've got any questions for Jay this evening, pop them into the chat, and we will get them answered for you, sort of as quick as we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into it then. And first question that I'm gonna throw at you is what I think is quite obvious. So obviously at the moment the world is going through a bit of a rough time with the pandemic. I mean, we know over here in the UK
Indeed.
and UK and Ireland, we know what it's done to the aviation business over here. Just give us a lot of sort of an insight really as to what it's done over across the pond, and what aviation is like over there at the moment.
Oh yes, I know for sure. Yeah, the whole pandemic situation has been very tough in many cases for the aviation industry over here in particular. We've had a number of folks move on to early retirement from various different places I know, and I've had friends who've been furloughed or laid off or whatever, and some have come back, which has been good, obviously. but there has been, of course, a bit of a hit there. I have not ever really experienced the halls of Chicago O'Hare as empty as I have sometimes in these past few months. You can sometimes look all the way down the end of the hallway, and there's almost nobody there. It's really weird for Chicago O'Hare to be that quiet. But things have picked up a little bit more recently, and we are seeing some increase in traffic levels in certain ways. But yeah, it's been tough, and we've seen a lot of course, boom in the cargo industry.
Of course.
And we've had a lot more cargo flights in and out, mostly just the regular stuff that you see every day. But occasionally we've been getting some good sorties on the plane spotting side as well. The Antonovs and the Illusions have been to O'Hare much more than usual, especially 2020. We had a great year for plane spotting that year, even though it was difficult in the pandemic wise. But yeah, it's been interesting to watch, especially since we had such really good years there in the years prior, 2015 to 2018. I think some of the greatest years we've ever had in the aviation industry. Yeah. And the data is pretty impressive. But yeah, it's been tough to see, but it's good to see things kind of in the improving, at least in certain areas. So yeah.
So obviously everything's trying to sort of find its feet in that. I know it's the same sort of thing over here. Really, is obviously for us over here, we've been in sort of lockdown and restrictions and that starting to ease. And while we still sort of can't travel abroad yet, we still get like airports like Heathrow obviously have been quite busy for cargo movements and bringing in like operators that don't normally sort of go in there. Sort of a one-off. So if you're going to take any sort of positive, I guess, out of this whole sort of scenario of the pandemic and that, I have to think it opens up different sort of airlines and stuff to come in and it's just something else for people that obviously live near the airport, for people that are travelling and stuff at the time, which obviously wasn't allowed, so a lot of people were missing a lot of stuff. But obviously you work at Chicago and live in Chicago, and what's it like to do plane spotting at a place of work, essentially?
It's interesting. Chicago O'Hare, of course, I've been, an avid plane spotter since I was very young, and I was born in the Chicago area, and then we moved away. Then we moved back when I was about 4 or 5, and so I've kind of seen Chicago O'Hare for most of my lifetime, which kind of seen things come and go, and the improvements and the changes. And the O'Hare that I grew up with is different than the O'Hare that we have now. There's been a number of runways added. The runway configuration is completely different. All the traffic is different. I'm only about 30-something, but I've seen, the 727s and the 747s of old, things like that. And that was my favorite aviation right there, the classic stuff. I love the loud engines and to see the stuff come and go from that time period especially. That was kind of what got me into the whole aviation love as it is.
Yeah, I mean, but, I'm sort of in the same sort of boat, really. As much as sort of today's planes are, they're nice and they are very futuristic and very modern and full of technology. I think if you were to place them in two different eras, I think I would probably pick the same era as you and go with the old school stuff, because I think a lot of plane spotters will probably say, and people in the chat will probably say it as well, you got more variety back then than you do now.
In many cases, yes. We sometimes have more the international side because, of course, things like the 787 have made so many long, thin routes, as they're called, so much more accessible. So certain airlines have started to, show up at different airports they normally couldn't serve in past. But yeah, we've sacrificed that for the sake of a lot of old-time aviation. That's, it's really cool. It's still with us, always will be, but a lot of it sits in the retirement. In the retirement graveyards and various places. And, it's sad to see. But it's, at the same time, I look at the current climate of aviation we have, and I'm very impressed with all the technology and the advancements and how fuel-efficient things are nowadays, especially. That's really a huge area that we've improved in big time.
Now, Jay, I have a question for you there. Would you miss the Delta MD-88s now going in now, because you did used to get a few of them and you used to catch a few of the American Airlines MD-80s used to go in there. I used to love sometimes when I scroll onto your page, and I'd often see you often got an odd MD-8 going now. Sure, you would have gotten an American one, and the noise of them now used to be pretty nice and loud. I used to love the loud engines myself.
Oh yeah, I mean that was my favorite engine ever, the JT80, and the fun that it was to stand at the end of the runways and listen to the air crack behind the airplanes as they go full power and rip off runway 22 left there. Especially, I used to live mostly under the kind of far out, but a little bit under the approach for runway 4 right, and the American MD-80s and the Delta MD-80s. You'd see them all the time.
Wow.
And the American MD-80 actually, I was there at the retirement ceremony at O'Hare, at least the last flight that came in, and I have that on my YouTube somewhere there. But yeah, that was such an incredible event to be a part of, and to hear people's stories. Who that airplane even means more to them in many cases than I did. I just saw it growing up as something in the sky that inspired me to get out there and enjoy the airplanes. But these people worked on it and flew it, and slept in it, and they lived and breathed it. So, but yeah, interesting stuff there.
Oh God, yeah. Like I was saying to Tom, a few times, or I've had a chat with Tom like myself, and I always said to Tom, I miss all the old aircraft, because when you grow up with things like that, you kind of say to yourself, we should have them back, but we're getting so used to all these newer variants coming out that we see every time as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to mix the reminiscence of the past with the newness and the advancements that we've made nowadays, and try to see both of them for their advantages. I really try to enjoy them for both of that. But yes, I do always miss the classic stuff. I really wish I had started filming earlier than I had, and maybe taking pictures more than I did, because there's a lot of stuff that I probably could have held on for generations and kind of captured it so that other people can now see it later on, that kind of thing. It's always a little bit of a regret, but hey, at least I started when I did, and it's been great. It's been wonderful. So there's that.
Yeah, you're like me. I kind of wish that I'd done it a lot sooner. I've got quite a few sort of early memories of sort of being a young child, and seeing. I think the most notable sort of memory that I have, because where I used to live was right under the flight path of 09 right at Heathrow, and every lunchtime you'd always see BWIA TriStar.
Oh yeah.
That would always sort of turn heads and stuff, and of course like Air Jamaica A340s and Iberia 727s, and obviously it's a weird one, because it's almost like, in a way, whilst we here in Europe are losing sort of the classic stuff, the Americans are like, no, we still get to have them, sort of thing.
We still have a lot of classic airliners floating around the U.S. That is definitely for sure. I try to get out there and get videos as much as possible, and I've been to Anchorage and different places like that to try to film the DC-6s and the DC-3s and stuff like that, especially. And but yeah, I mean, the cargo aspect here for sure keeps a lot of those old birds flying a little bit longer. And so, I mean, you got to take those opportunities while you can. I mean, we've even seen with this whole pandemic, stuff that we thought would be flying for years to come is suddenly gone.
Yes, almost
like
that.
Be kind of a wake up to us, to get out there and get film of these things before they pass us by.
It's like just with a click of a finger, they've just been wiped out because of the pandemic and that. But
yep.
Yeah, such is life. We are living in the times that we are. So.
That's right.
Yeah, and
I think the aviation industry will come back away from this much stronger, and we'll have a lot of things learned, and we'll move on, of course. And I think there's a bright future for aviation, but this will definitely be a good lesson for us all, and something to take with us and remember to try to gain the knowledge that we can from it and move on for a better future.
Definitely.
I get back into the swing of things again, and get back out and do what we love doing again. And I'm like yourself, Jay. I'm hoping to get back out into the field and start getting back on the high note again.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure Tom will look forward to joining up with me on many of my excursions when it all happens, and hopefully one day you'll join us as well when you get a chance to come over to visit us as well.
Oh yeah, I know. I'd love to see you guys do a live show at an airport somewhere. I mean, I don't know about how the audio would work out as
that
well,
would be
but
crazy.
but yeah, but I know your listeners would love it. I would certainly love to see it, and to have Jared Dooley narrate airplanes taking off live and that kind of thing. I mean, that would be just absolutely wonderful to hear. But yeah, for sure.
Hey Tom, would you be up for that now yourself, mate, to join the greatest commentator in aviation today?
I think I would. I would be. I would probably bring a swear jar with me because I'm probably going to need it for you.
It would be a unique challenge in its own way. I don't do any live streaming from the airport myself. I've often toyed with the idea that maybe I would try at some point, but there's just a lot of different advantages and disadvantages to be worked through with that, and it's its own challenge, to try to do something live and have constant action.
Yeah.
Here obviously we have stuff landing and taking off all the time, so it really wouldn't be an issue. But the whole production issue of that, I mean, that would be interesting to try to work through.
Yes. So we've got a couple of questions in the live chat, which we'll get to. First one that I'll bring up is from Kevin Phillips, who says, "What was your, or if you've had one, what was your scariest moment on the ramp?"
That's actually a good question, but I don't really work on the ramp, so I would have to translate it to something I've done in either flight dispatch or in the ramp controller capacity. I can tell you about flight dispatch for sure. I once had we had a situation in LaGuardia. I had 6 aircraft waiting for takeoff, and we had the rain that we had went to heavy freezing rain, and I had suddenly had 6 gate returns on my hand at one time. That was kind of an interesting deal. And then another time I had 3 diversions in the air at one time going to Detroit because visibility dropped to well below 1/8 of a mile.
Wow.
And that was just, you work as fast as you can in the moment. And you try hard to get everything all sorted out and, get the information to the crews you need to. And at the end, you just kind of sit back and your hands are shaking a little bit because you've been typing fast, and you you try to pull yourself together.
Trying to keep up
and
with
knowing that you did what you could, But yeah, that was when I was brand new to the whole dispatch thing. So, I mean, that was like, I get thrown right into the fire to begin with. But that was definitely a wake-up call for me, for sure.
Wow. Absolutely awesome. I have one there. Sadly, Bradley is gone now, but he did ask a question. Where did your passion for aviation stem from?
Well, my dad was a navigator and airman in the U.S. Navy on the C-130s, and he has always loved aviation and passed that on to me. And he would often take me to the airport when I was young, and it was just a wonderful free pastime to sit out and have a Happy Meal on the hood of the car and watch the 727s take off, and take binoculars and radio and listen to the ATC if we could, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so he really inspired me in that way, especially. I did some flight training in my high school years and got pretty far towards my private, but had to stop short. I'll probably go back and finish it someday, but I eventually decided to move on to things more in the operations side, kind of like ATC and dispatch and things like that. But he is the guy who got me into the whole aviation thing, and I am forever thankful to him for it. That's that, and growing up around the airplanes, and it's like a infectious disease. Once you get that aviation blood in you, it's hard to tame, and it just keeps right on rolling, and you learn so many new things, and the world opens up to you. And aviation has been, in many ways, something that has always fueled me on to bigger and better things. So I'm always grateful for the experiences I've had.
Good stuff.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
So, yeah, before Bradley left, he put a few questions in there. So we'll get through those, and hopefully we'll get some more in the chat as well. But we'll continue from that.
Yeah.
He's asked if you've ever been spotting in the UK.
I have not. I've been to the UK. I've been to Dublin and London on various times, but I do need to get around to crossing some of those places off on my list. I would love to see Mach Loop at some point, the famous place in the west of the UK with those F-15s and the jets going through there at low altitudes and stuff like that.
Totally on my list as well.
That would be absolutely awesome. I would love to see that. That's definitely a place I need to check off. I'd like to go, of course, to London Heathrow, Manchester, all the places that people love to go for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are definitely some trips to come, hopefully, and in the years to come, we'll cross those off and make some great videos.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, I tell you, I fingers crossed. You'll get to do it. Well, hopefully, be like myself, Dash. One day I'll get to cross the Atlantic over to O'Hare, and hopefully get to do a catch up with you, and you'll get to show me around the most famous airport of all, because O'Hare is classed, to me now. I class O'Hare as one of the most busiest airports in the States. I know Atlanta is classed as the world's busiest airport, but I still think though O'Hare is one of the most busiest going. How many runways does O'Hare have?
O'Hare now has let me count. I think we got 8 runways. Yep, 8 runways.
Wow, that's a lot.
I had to think for a moment too, because I'm used to the runway configuration of the past as well, so I have to sit there and think for a moment. But yeah, we have 8 runways. They're trying to configure it more like Dallas Fort Worth, so they have a lot of parallel runways and then a couple diagonals for those days when we have the really high winds that are crosswinds. But yeah, it's been interesting to watch the transformation. You hear the plans when they started to come out about the new O'Hare, and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be long time to come. And it has been a long time, but the watching the transformation has been impressive for sure. And they're able so much better to handle traffic nowadays, I think, than they used to be. It looks so much easier. We have triple parallels all the time, and they can even do quad parallels if they wanted to, because we have enough runways. But wow. Yeah, it's been impressive to see. I mean, obviously O'Hare historically, from the 1960s to about 1998 was the most busy airport in the world. And so there's that historical value, and even today we still I think we're either 1 or 2 in aircraft movements. I mean, we're definitely up there in aircraft movements for sure. We have all this regional traffic that helps us out that way, but it's quite a mix. It's quite a mix. We don't really see a lot of the exotic stuff, but it happens every now and then. But we have a lot of 747 traffic. We have a lot of European, especially, and it happens all day long. So you got a continuous stream of great stuff to watch.
And how many landings and takeoffs would O'Hare Airport see on a busy time now, before any of this pandemic was ever heard tell of? This is before when this came in,
Yeah, let's see. Quotes that they show, for example, here I'm looking at something on Wikipedia that says we're average about 2,500 per day in 2019 for aircraft operations. So, I mean, it's up there. It gives a number of about 919,704 aircraft operations. That's I think it's probably peak operation right there. That was prior to the whole pandemic thing. As we've seen the traffic levels come down, I mean, there's times I'll look at O'Hare and there's nothing moving. I mean, it's dead. That happens every now and then, which is eerie and weird to see as someone who's, there's always action there. There's the continuous sound of airplanes taking off and landing. It's like this, cacophony of white noise in the background as you're plane spotting,
Yeah.
And the airport's so large, stuff can land, you don't see it. I mean, if it's all the way north, it's, the north runways, we kind of have a north complex, south complex kind of thing. We got a section of south runways and north runways. If something lands in the north and you're in the south, you may not see it land. I mean, the airport's that large. But,
wow.
It's interesting to see how much throughput there is in this airport.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. That's and is O'Hare Airport, is it an all night airport, or does it ease off like London Heathrow and the other UK airports? I know Dublin now. I know it does quite off. The last flight I think normally comes in around 2 o'clock in the morning or something. I think is
Yeah,
well, yeah.
it's nonstop. I mean, we have you start in the morning. It's usually the Asian carriers like Japan Airlines, Al Nippon, Korean, things like that will show up. Ethiopian maybe. And then as you get towards the day, you'll have a variety of different cargo stuff. More around lunchtime is when we start to see the European stuff usually fly in. And this is, I'm referencing back to like 2018, 2019 when things were, full bore. We had, Scandinavian and Aer Lingus and British Airways and KLM, and all of them would show up kind of midday to afternoon, maybe 3 or 4 p.m. And then as you get into the night, you get into, things like Turkish show up and, British Airways will have a late flight. Lufthansa at peak, they had, I think, 4 flights in here to various cities. I think we had Dusseldorf and Frankfurt too, had 2 flights in Munich. And then, of course, we had other folks like Air New Zealand had service here for a little while. And but yeah, it's been interesting. Some of them have stuck around. They've done cargo flights. Some of them have decided to hold off for now. I think Qantas is supposed to launch service to O'Hare at some point. Hopefully we'll see them back. I don't remember the exact date for when they're supposed to, planning to start service. It's going to be a little while anyway. And sometimes you'll hear, like a rumor that we're going to have something show up and it takes a little bit longer. Because, it's a very fluid situation. We don't, things are rather unpredictable at this point. But it's been interesting to see a lot of the stuff we don't usually see. Like Air Canada has started flying in heavies to us, cargo flights from Vancouver and Toronto. So that's definitely odd to see here for, see Air Canada 777s and 787s here. There was a time, 2020, we had Delta flying 777s and A330s here with cargo flights to different places. And
Remember that.
It's kind of been a wild card. I call it the era of the wild card. We've had a lot of stuff happen that you do not normally see at O'Hare, but it's been interesting to watch it kind of take off in its way.
Especially for the plane spotters, I suppose.
Oh, yeah. For the plane spotting, 2020 was one of the greatest. 2020 was one of the greatest years I've ever had for plane spotting. It's sad that it had to be a pandemic to make it so, but really there are no other years I've had that have been quite that incredible where you have that amount of special and rare stuff showing up all the time.
It's almost like a catch-22, I suppose, because it's like, woohoo, we're getting all this stuff, and then you remember why you're getting the stuff, and it's it's sort of one of those where it's like, yay, but at the same time. So
exactly.
If may, we'll move on to sort of your channel as a whole, really. What prompted the idea to kind of? This is another question from Bradley, but we've got, we'll chat more about it and go from there. But what sort of prompted the idea to sort of go? I think I'm going to make a YouTube channel.
Yeah, YouTube. Naturally, I wanted to see airplanes. Obviously, I've always been one of those who is frequenting sites like airliners.net and things like that. Just look at pictures of airplanes, and I love it. But I never really was into the whole photography and videography thing as kind of a way of saying I could do this until I started seeing, YouTube channels popping up that were, different amateur people just going out, just, filming this and that from the airports. I thought, hey, this would be pretty awesome. And as I got into college and I couldn't spend time at the airport like I, was hoping, of course, studies and all that, I was just looking for ways to enjoy the airplanes at home, and was like, hey, I could film, go out and film for a day or two, and then I just always have airplanes on my computer to watch. And there were a couple different folks online on YouTube that encouraged me and said, hey, you gotta, you at least give it a shot, give your hand a try at this. And my early videos are not too good, but you got to start somewhere. And
of course,
they'll always be on my channel to remind me of how I've kind of improved over the years. But just getting out there, enjoying the airplanes. I do kind of very, I wouldn't say cheap, but it's inexpensive. I just film the airplanes straight as they are. No editing really, almost at all. Just combine them together in clips and just put them up on, YouTube. I try to write some descriptions to make it interesting and so people can kind of get some context. But I don't do any of the special effects and all that kind of thing. It's too much time for me to spend on it because I'm a busy guy. But and also I just kind of like to enjoy the airplanes as they are. I just like them in their environment. I like to hear the raw noise and just make it feel like you're actually at the airport. Is the best way I can describe it. But
I think in terms of like what you do in particular on your channel, which is like compilations and stuff, you don't really need special effects or anything like that because I think it just takes away from it. You just want to be able to listen to everything that you filmed and everything that you've caught for the time. And I think a lot of people like myself go after compilations when you want to watch something on YouTube. So compilations for me are like the way to go. Yeah.
I agree. There was something that was kind of a revelation to me as I started doing this more and more often. People were using my videos for background noise to like sleep at night and things like that for white noise. So I figured, hey, why not? People like it. It increases the views. Why not just make some long compilations that people can use for that kind of a thing? And so I have a few videos that are like that. They're like 3 or 4 hours or 6 hours or whatever. But it's you turn it on and it's background. There used to be a little shop here on the west side of O'Hare called Aviation Universe, and they used to play my videos sometimes.
Oh wow!
It's they're not in business anymore, unfortunately. No. But and so you'd have great content. You could just put it on in the background, something kind of like a hobby store or a train store or whatever. You just walk in and you got some background noise, some airplanes, in the store, that kind of thing. So I used to make videos specifically for that. So a lot of my early videos that are longer, that's where those came from. It was specifically for that kind of a use.
Oh wow!
I actually do that sometimes now myself, Jay. I know you were saying you have an upcoming video now very soon, but I normally some nights if I'm going to sleep, I'll throw on one of your longest videos that you have, and I listen to the sound of the airplanes, and it helps me to go to sleep. I like that sometimes.
It's great for study background. It's great for just having on, just to makes the general av geek heart happy to hear the airplanes taking off and landing. It does. So.
100%. Yeah. What about you, Tom? Tom, do you listen now to any aviation stuff like before you fall asleep?
Well, I don't. Well, I mean, if listening is watching, then I do tend to watch quite a few. I'm subscribed to quite a few. I'll name drop because
like myself.
I will. Like yourself, yeah. Also, you've got is it Lep Aviation as well?
He's very good.
He's very, very good.
Very good. Yeah, Sean Leppert. He's trying to become an airline pilot eventually. I think he's a college student, but yeah, he's got some incredible videos out there. Films in kind of a similar style to mine. And I've actually spotted with him a few times, and I've always enjoyed having him around. And I hope we see much, much more from him in the future.
Yeah, he produces some really good stuff. And there was one particular video, or maybe been a couple, where he caught some DC-8s and stuff. And I can't remember how I sort of found him. Really, I think it just came up as like a part of the algorithm of YouTube. Really, you watch one person, and then obviously it brings up everyone else.
That's one of the keys about YouTube in particular is keywords and, using the algorithm for your advantage. I do that a lot with my videos. You put a good, healthy description in there of a lot of different things in there because all those show up as keywords and they boost your video up. And putting in good keywords in the little section that's even below that where it has like the additional space you can put more in. And it's like, gasoline on a fire. It just takes your video and it kind of just, moves it around. That is a big key to how you can kind of increase viewership.
Yeah, it's a strange one, the whole the keywords thing, because I think before when I was doing it sort of in the early stages, I've only been doing it for like 2.5 years sort of thing, but the early stages and stuff, like, we're getting not as many views, I suppose. Like, I don't get as many views now, but that's absolutely fine. But I was putting keywords in, and then I went to Kemble, which in Gloucestershire here in the UK, where obviously all the planes go to be stored or scrapped, etc. Went there for the first time, did a video, dropped it onto YouTube, put no keywords in whatsoever, just typed it in on the title, about where I was, etc. It sort of hit the first 1,000 views of like the first time I had a video like that, and I was like, oh, okay, that's wonderful. Then for whatever reason, it blew up, and it then skied to, I think it's about 127,000 views now that it's got. So, for whatever reason, it blew up. But I'm that's where I've gained most of my subscribers from, is from that one video in particular. I've not had a video like it since. So,
well, it's amazing. Right place, right time. I mean, it was even that one. I think that one video of that Ethiopian 777 that was landing at Miami I saw, and I mean, the crew did a great job saving the airplane from what might have been a little bit of an issue. Yeah, I think it was kind of a wind shear issue or whatever.
It was maybe. Something like that. Yeah.
And I was just gonna say, right place, right time. Right place, right time. You happen to be there, and so be it.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, Tom, you were mentioning about your video, Ash Campbell. I remember I had a video actually on YouTube as well, and I forget now how many views it got. It got a massive amount. It was to do with a Spanish F-18 fighter jet actually that came into Dublin, and it was awesome. Now, pretty loud and noisy. I wasn't expecting what came next, but I'm not going to say it. But anyway,
No.
But it raked in a massive amount of views. You've seen it, Tom. How many views it got?
It was. That's how I found you. I said this last week on last week's episode. That's how I found you, because the video was blown up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what was quite funny is that the fact that the plane was loud, Jer was loud, and because Jer was very loud and didn't watch what he said, that's what got him banned from YouTube.
Well, that's the way it goes sometimes.
And then I remember the whole rant that he had afterwards. I'm not going to repeat the words, but the whole rant he had afterwards, the fact that he got banned because he was shouting at an F-18. Oh, that's how I found him, and just been a fan ever since.
It's the start of a beautiful friendship. I like
that. 100%.
Oh, dearie me.
But I do tell younger viewers and people who, plane spotters and want to get into this kind of thing, if you do it and you love it, and you really enjoy it, do it because of that, because that is what will fuel you to keep going, even in the times when you're having issues with your channel and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, the views and subscribes and likes and all that kind of thing, I mean, it's easy to get wrapped up in that, and it is true that, it's kind of like a little bit of a boost to you when you see that you've filmed something that you like. But, if you really love it, and, that's why I see sometimes the younger kids getting into this kind of thing. It's like, do it for the airplanes. Do it because you enjoy and you appreciate flight, and because you're fascinated with the airplanes themselves. And that will be a great inspiration to you. Use these aviation experiences to learn more and more about the world around us and the science behind it and the incredible stuff that goes on there. And the likes and subscribes, it's great, and it will come. As you apply yourself. I mean, I run my channel kind of like a small business, but it's more of a hobby that just happens to make me a little bit of money on the side. And it's I do some when I can, and sometimes I don't, and sometimes I go for a month and I just didn't upload anything because I was busy. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you kind of get to it when you can, and you always don't ever make it work to where it becomes laborious, because sometimes it can be if you think about it too much and it becomes too much a part of your life, unless it's your career, and then of course you need to apply yourself, obviously. But for a lot of the folks out there, hey, just take your camera and experiment, have fun.
Have fun. Something I often heard it said, guys, life's too short, so get out while you can, enjoy every moment, there's going to come a time that we'll get out of all this pandemic stuff, and we'll be back out there on the field again, and we'll be enjoying ourselves like the good old days again. There's light at the end of the tunnel, that's the way I always say it anyway sometimes.
Well, I'm hoping to, I mean, I don't know what the scheduling is like, but in June down here in Cornwall, in the southwest of England, we're actually hosting the I forget, G7 summit, G4 Summit, G7.
Yeah.
Oh.
G7 Summit. I'm sure it's that. Someone will correct me. But
Yeah.
we're hosting that now this year, so I'm expecting a lot of different stuff to come down here. But I don't know what will be used. I mean, I know. I think Joe Biden will be over here. I don't know where he'll go. There'll be people from like European countries, just all over the place, just flooding into either like the Southwest one way or another. So there's gonna be a lot of people after that, and I'm hoping to be one of them. Providing I don't do it during the week, because obviously I'm working. But I might have a word with Joe Biden and just tell him to come in at the weekend.
Your airport, Newquay. How long is the runway at Newquay Airport, Tom?
It's a long runway.
Well, Air Force One then. Air Force One, I'd say definitely land on that. No problem. I'd reckon.
It will. Well, Newquay does cater for 747s because British Airways sent some of theirs.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, which I did manage to get on my channel. So I've managed to get 2 747s go into Newquay for scrapping, and
excellent.
yes,
Excellent.
I'm just having a look to see about the runway length. Because I don't know offhand, so leave it with me. I'll come back to you.
No problem on that one, Tom. That's perfect. Oh yeah, Jay. There's a question I want to ask you now. What is the longest? What is the longest runway at O'Hare Airport?
Let's see. It would be. Well, now it's 28 right, 10 left. It's about 13,000 feet long. It's 150 feet wide. And it's, of course, it's had some number changes over the years, so it's, I have to think about it for a moment. But I think it was 2-7 left, and then it was 2-8, and now it's 2-8 right, because we've had numbers, change with different runways that we've had. But yeah, it's a long runway that's always been there, kind of right off the terminals. Goes east-west, usually used for takeoffs nowadays, and then they use the outboard runway for the landings, 10 center, 2-8 center. Which is where a lot of the heavies end up going. That's why I end up spotting that runway very heavily. Is a lot of the heavy stuff all lands on 2-8 center. But we've had a new runway open up 2-7 center on the north side, and it's not been exactly very happy for some of the plane spotters because we missed something on that north runway, and sometimes it's hard to get from the south runway to the north runway in time for the filming.
What happens when you get too greedy and have too many runways?
Yep.
But I tell you though, that's a great spot now. You do be at there, near the fence, and you get them when they touch down, and they come along up by the side of the fence, and the engines are in reverse. I always cop that moment every time. You get some of the A340s when they touch down, or you get the 747s, and even the Dreamliners now when they come up near you, they're fairly loud, like in reverse thrust when they're slowing down there.
Oh yeah, that's a good place. I think it's one of the better spots to plane spot in the U.S. It is private property, unfortunately, so you do have to have permission to spot there. But I'm part of a airport watch called ORD Airport Watch, and
good.
So, what basically just provides a way for plane spotters to kind of form something of a neighborhood watch sort of thing.
Yeah.
And within the constructs of that organization, we sometimes get permission to go different places. Certain companies will let us be different places. So that's where a lot of the locations that are really good at O'Hare are. They're private property. We just have permission as members of the airport watch to spot there. So that's one of the great places, yes, for sure. The runway is literally right, it's right in front of you. And you can, when the 747s come in and pour on the reverse thrust, I mean, you can feel it in your chest. It is loud. And, that's probably the closest I think I can get to, anybody could get to an active runway is, just plane spot there. When you have airplanes landing on it like that, it just, you can, it's right there. It's right in front of you. There's nowhere really between you and the runway. It's very nice. It's very nice. You can kind of stand up on, there's a little bit of a concrete wall. I have to stand up to kind of get those shots. So I'm kind of balancing on that while I'm trying to, get a good video there. But I've been going there since, 2013, 2014 or whatever. And caught a lot of really nice airplanes on that runway.
Yeah, you certainly have. Like I have followed you a long time now. I know even though I was temporarily gone off YouTube for a while, but now I'm back. I'm back as the legendary Jerry Lingus, which is a great name, and I do always appreciate every time when you're there spotting, you always catch my Gerlingus A330
Yeah.
arriving and departing. So a big thumbs up to that to you, my good friend.
I'm gonna
Well,
use,
Jerry, you've been there since the beginning on my channel. I mean, you've been since the earliest days, and I was kind of wondering where you went there for a little while. I was like, what happened? Where'd he go?
He got
that
banned.
Kind of thing. But
Oh, and unfortunately, Jay and Tom, I got a red flag, and that was it. So but look, listen, the good old king is back, and I'm back even better now this time.
he got told to have an early bath.
that's right.
Exactly, Tom.
I'll also interject and say, because Joe, you asked about Nuki's airport. It's 9,003 feet long.
Well, there you go, Tom. So, like, I'm sure when this G7 summit or whatever when it comes up, I'm sure you're going to get absolutely amazing stuff in there. So keep an eye out for that. I'll definitely be following you when that comes up.
Yeah, I know that. I don't know if they were practicing for whatever, but we've had about 5 or 6 ospreys in and around the area today.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
I know they were picking up some troops and stuff. But they've been based at Coldrose, which is, like, for those that don't know, is probably like the furthest point down, or near one of the furthest points down in Cornwall. Yeah, they've been sort of based there for the last couple of days. And this morning I heard this awful racket. I say awful, I mean just because it was loud. I was like, I don't recognise that sound, because normally we get Hercules and A400s go over. And didn't recognise this noise, and I thought someone was wheeling a bin outside. So I went and had a look, and then as I saw in the corner of my eye, there was 3 ospreys in formation that just flew over the house.
Wow, that was amazing.
Absolutely incredible. But
and Tom, a sight for sore eyes to see as well, like, because they're now I know ospreys. They're a very, very popular machine, and a beautiful style to them as well. I love when they land, that the rotors are actually facing up into the air, but when they take off, then the rotors actually go forward like a conventional prop plane when they're flying.
yeah, they're outstanding, absolutely outstanding.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. So they are. But Jay, there's. Oh, sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, going back to your channel, Jay.
Yes.
Obviously, I said in the beginning with the introduction that you have amassed over 75,000 subscribers, which, I think anybody would love to have, at least like 1,000, let alone 75,000. Was it an expectation, or was it just a fact that videos blew up and then it just happened?
It just kind of happened. I've been very blessed and honored to have that many people, show some interest in what I'm doing here. I mean, that's way more than I ever thought I'd have when I first started this thing. I've really not had any big viral videos. I mean, it's just kind of been this slow thing that I kind of, over time, just bit by bit, adding a video here and there every day, or not necessarily every day, but at least, weekly or whatever. And I used to have a few more uploads, but I kind of took some of the early stuff down that was, not the best, but I kept a few of the early ones up there just so that we have something to, see where I've improved from. But yeah, it's just, it's a day out, day in sort of just life of O'Hare, plane spotting. I've been a few other places as well, Anchorage, Los Angeles, and Portland and whatever, but mostly it's all from O'Hare. I have some flight videos on there as well. I've been very lucky and fortunate to fly in certain airplanes like B-17s and C-46 Curtiss Commandos and whatever, but yeah, it's just a life of a typical av geek that just does a little bit of aviation every day, that kind of thing.
Well, a big congratulations to you on that many subscribers, and keep up the good work anyway, Jay, because you sure give me good enjoyment and happiness all the time. Every time I see a very interesting long video, I look forward to just putting my feet up and lying back and enjoying every minute. And of course, as you know yourself and Tom knows as well, my video at that time did go viral all over the world.
One of the greatest things I've found about the YouTube experience, though, has been, and even online, even with Instagram and Twitter and whatever, is the communication with other people who like it, the forming of the community around that kind of a thing. I mean, I've met so many wonderful people through just a simple, taking a video camera to the airport, I mean, around the world. It's just amazing to see, this kind of community grow, especially the plane spotting community grow in the online environment. And especially in the past, even, 10, 20 years. I mean, it's just been amazing. It's probably the greatest thing I've ever had out of this channel. I mean, and out of this experience is just the friendships, the connections, the great experiences because of those sorts of things that spawn either spontaneously or, if you're going to go someplace like Spot LAX or whatever, some of the big spotting, kind of get-togethers or conventions or whatever. But that is probably the greatest treasure of it all is meeting the people, seeing people get into it, get enjoyment out of it. I love asking people when they've taken a good shot or a good video. Did you get a good shot? Did you get a good video? Did you enjoy that? Did you get what you were hoping for? Just because I want to see them appreciate it. I want the plane spotting hobby to to grow and thrive in that. I mean, people need to get out more and see the sunshine and the birds and see the airplanes and smell the jet fuel and that kind of stuff. And
exactly, yeah.
And
enjoy the good things.
About. Yeah. Yeah.
But that is the main aim, is just to enjoy the airplanes and to enjoy the people who love it.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Should never sort of be ashamed to do it. I know people get grief, and there'll be people out there that kind of I've experienced it myself, like from various times of spotting at Heathrow, people driving by shouting things, etc. But never ever let it sort of get in the way of it, because at the end of the day, at least you're doing something fun, and they're not, sort of thing.
And something, Tom, you're out there enjoying yourself. Like I've had the same thing at Dublin a couple of times, with fellas in cars, like showing off, like flying up and down, like in fast cars, like and no, fair enough. I don't know whether to mean any harm or anything, but like sometimes I often get thumbs up from a few of them as well. So like I just go along with it, and I'm there to do one thing, like yourself, like what Jay does, and that's enjoy the aviation, enjoy the aircraft landing, taking off, and just take it all in, and then go home a happy man that evening. Mission accomplished.
Exactly.
And you plan for the next event, which always even turns out even better again.
That's right. It's great to. Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's the enjoyment of the hobby, and the take the camera out. Just a simple, take the camera out and go shoot some pictures. I mean, I shoot stuff all the time. I mean, video stuff that I don't even share. I just for the pure enjoyment of filming the airplanes and that kind of thing.
Exactly. No, you said it, yeah.
And and plane spot responsibly, of course, too. To stay where you're supposed to. Don't be on private property if you're not allowed there, and be respectful to the law enforcement and people like that. They're just most of the time just curious. They just want to see what you're up to.
Keep things secret if they're supposed to be secret.
Yes. And I mean, we even have officers who show up and watch the airplanes with us at O'Hare now. I mean, it's a totally different environment than it used to be in some cases, because people, O'Hare used to be notorious for people getting run off the place, and now that there's been more understanding and more kind of mutual, I don't know what you want to say, respect, I guess, or whatever. People get involved and that kind of thing, and we just enjoy the airplanes for what they're supposed to be and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, you have it. Exactly.
So what we'll do is we'll wrap up very shortly, but we'll get a few more questions in, and then we'll begin to wrap it up. So, what would you say? Let's go within the last sort of 10 years or so, and then we'll do all-time sort of. So we'll go with two questions. So, in the last sort of decade, 10 years or so, back to 2010, should we say, doing the spotting at Chicago and stuff. What would you say would be a highlight, sort of within that sort of time? If you don't have one, you can pick as many as you like.
Well, the rarest thing I've ever spotted there was actually rather recently. That Kuwait Air Force C-17 that just dropped out of nowhere. That was fun. I mean, that's what plane spotting is all about, is that fun enjoyment of the rare catch, too. I mean, that was rather unexpected. That was a good one. I don't know. I've loved spotting at Anchorage. Anchorage is one of my favorite airports ever. There's a lot of cargo traffic there. There's a lot of classic stuff that still goes through there. Always spotting at LAX. LAX is one of my favorite airports as well.
Yeah.
I really enjoy spotting there. Yeah, I mean that and flying some of the special airplanes I've happened to chance to be on, and that's probably the highlights, I would say, definitely, that I've enjoyed most from the kind of the little run here that I've done.
So what would you say then in terms of all time? If you had to have if there was one plane that you caught that will always sort of stick with you, obviously you can't pick the Q8 C-17, you've already done that, but
I will say B-17 Flying Fortress. That is something I wish everybody could experience. It is a little expensive sometimes for that ticket, but my goodness, it is well worth it. And to learn some history there as you are, on a very capable but also very old aircraft in many ways. I mean, it just, and there's you see, you can watch a movie like 12 O'Clock High or Memphis Belle or something like that, and it's wonderful to watch, but to actually put yourself in that seat and to envision what it must have been like. I mean, that is I think the greatest appreciation you can get of history, is to actually put yourself in people's shoes like that. There was another flight I did like that. It was a C-46. I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but it was just a jump seat, because when I was flight dispatch, I could jump seat on different airlines and whatever. It was Everett's Air Cargo, Curtis Commando, from Fairbanks up to Anactivik Pass, this little town in the middle of nowhere. Land a twin engine aircraft tail dragger on a gravel strip, and just there in the mountains. It's really an interesting airport. They have to look at a webcam to determine if the weather is good or not, because I don't think there's any published weather for that airport.
No.
And it's interesting. It's amazing. You go up there, and we delivered a snowmobile and some lumber to the people up there, and you see where they live and that kind of thing. I think there was another one I went up to Barrow, which is in the very northernmost portion of Alaska. I jump seated on a 737-200 up there just to enjoy the classic airliners again, and you see how much aviation means to these people. It's their lifeblood. Especially for a lot of these people in the northern remote places in the north, and wherever it may be in the world where it's remote. You see how much aviation means to those folks.
Yeah. I know I've seen. Closest I've ever seen a C-46 is on a TV program. Can't think of what it's called now, but it's something to do with like Alaskan
Buffalo Airways
or something.
I know Buffalo Airways has a few of those old-time stuff that's still flying.
Yeah, that's
famous TV show for a while.
Yeah, I can't think of what the program's called, but I used to watch it all the time. And the way that they maintain the old planes up there and that is it's fantastic to see these planes that are like incredibly ancient being maintained in such a pristine way that you can still keep them flying even today.
That is wonderful to see, especially for the young folks. They have some connection with the past that way too. Because I mean, eventually, it's wonderful to see, the 7.8s and the A350s. It is, I love it. But the little view into the past of history and where we've come from, this aviation thing, it's only been it's only been 100 something years. I mean, in the long view of history, we've only been flying for a very short time. Mankind has been, and it's one of the greatest achievements mankind's ever made. It is the ability to fly.
Yeah. Jay, I have a question now for you quickly. If there was a real good plane out there from God knows how many years ago. What would be your favourite old timer to step on again for one final time?
Well, I mean, of the airplanes I've flown, I'd say, or flown on, I should say, the DC-3 is probably one of my favorites. There, that would be one of my all-time favorite airplanes.
Yeah.
I've never flown on a C-17, but I'd love to see what that's like. And I think somebody mentioned it one time previously in the show here, Concorde. I never got to fly on Concorde. I would love to have had that opportunity to be on Concorde and see what that was like. There's a couple that are still preserved. There's one in Washington at the Boeing Museum. I've been able to walk through that one and look in the cockpit and all that kind of stuff. But then there's another one at the Udvar Hazy Center in Washington, D.C., kind of Smithsonian Museum thing. Those are the two I've seen up close. But yeah, that's an airplane, Concorde. I would love to have actually flown on that one.
Amazing.
Wow. Yeah. Same here. I would have loved it. I would have loved. I know the price of flying on Concorde was pretty high back then. But no, I have to say, if I had a dream come true, Concorde would be my favorite aircraft because of the delta shaped wings on her and everything like that, and then how fast she could go then as well, like what 1300 miles an hour or something, supersonic, like 3 hours in 3 hours to New York. Just you can't beat that, can you?
No, that's, and I mean, even though going supersonic, there's really like nothing crazy that happens, or special or whatever. It's still, the fact that you did it is pretty impressive. I mean, you think about, that I would love to see supersonic aviation come back in some way, and that would be really, really impressive.
Yeah.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll go with a final question, and we'll ping this question around the room. Now, obviously, you've obviously mentioned about some of the old, like the classic sort of planes that you've been on, and stuff. But I'll throw this one to Jer, actually. Have you been on any classic aircraft? And if not, which ones would you go on? And you can't say Concorde.
Okay, Tom. I'd love to go on a classic 747 again. So I would, for all time's sake.
That would be pretty.
Because
cool.
Upper deck. For the one, yes, definitely on the upper deck. Yeah.
Upper deck, of course.
Yes, 100%.
Too good for the normal people.
Yeah. Oh yes, 100%.
Well, for me, I've been on a 90-year-old de Havilland Rapide.
Oh wow, that's a good one.
So down here,
wow,
must have been years ago now. But there was a place in Coventry in the Midlands of England where it was a company called Air Atlantique that had all these historical aircraft and stuff. And what you could do is you could book sightseeing tours on them for when they used to come down to Newquay for the summer, when it was all like the good weather and stuff. And I got given, I think they were about 100 to 200 pounds, I think. And I got given a ticket for one of my birthdays and stuff, and this Rapide was just sat there, and I fell in love with it straight away because it's just such a classic. And we took off from Newquay, and we weren't in the air for too long because for whatever reason the winds were sort of it was a bit bumpy. So in order to preserve the aircraft, we were actually in the air for shorter than we had actually intended, because we were going to do like the coastal tour, which was fantastic. I've got some really good photos of that. And we were then supposed to sort of go down towards the bottom end and then come back again. But because the winds were so bumpy, and to preserve the aircraft, we then came back and came into land. But when you're sitting there and you're looking in front of you and you can see the pilot, it's just very surreal. It's a very surreal experience. But it's an experience I'll never ever forget, because I don't think I'll ever be able to go on one again. And it was, honest to God, it was just like fantastic. It's like up there as like one of my favorites. Even if it was a short one, it's up there as one of my favorites.
Wow.
Yeah,
But
you'll
in
remember
terms
that
of which
forever.
one I
know
would
you
want to
will.
go on to,
Those are special experiences.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those are ones that
Yeah,
you
definitely.
you live for in terms of when if you're an
Exactly.
aviation
Yeah.
enthusiast and stuff, to be able to go on a plane that was built before you were born, sort of thing, and went out of
Yeah.
service before you
Yeah.
were born, and it's been preserved in such a way. It's just nice because it's not often that if you weren't into the whole thing, you wouldn't get the opportunity to do special things like that. You mentioned the C-17. I got a tour from the U.S. Air Force up at oh God, not Charleston. Oh God, I can't think of what it is now.
It'll come to you later.
It'll come to me. But down here we had the Yeovilton Air Day, which is like the biggest naval air show in Europe. And I was doing some streaming one time with a streaming company I won't mention. And I went to the air show, bought my ticket, and managed to get like a small little segment interview with one of the guys there. And they took me onto the C-17, let me sit in the cockpit and everything, and then there's a little hatch, isn't there, on the C-17 on the top of that. And they allowed me to sort of poke my head out of there and get a good sort of view for the plane and stuff. And I'll tell you, it's quite a sight when you stick your head out of a C-17. And it's like sticking your head out of a car sunroof. But from 20 feet in the air sort of thing. It's an unreal experience, but I'll always be thankful for that. But
get a little 360-degree view of get a little panoramic shot. That'd be great.
Yeah,
from up there.
Yeah,
get the wings and the tail in there.
Phone I had at the time wasn't really panoramic, but
oh well,
it's panoramic in my head, so that'll do.
Yeah, the C-17, one of my favorite airplanes. I love that airplane. It's amazingly capable. It looks a little bit like a little airliner, but it's, my gosh, that thing can climb. It can stop on a dime. You can reverse thrust with it, and drive around backwards if you want to. And yeah, man, that's a fun airplane.
Hard to think it's like decades old already.
Yeah.
It's you wouldn't think
they are
would
making their way up there.
But no. What we'll do, I think we'll begin to put my teeth in again. Begin to wrap it up. But before we do, we normally jump into, like I say, I'll stop mentioning this, but the first episode we had a quiz, which we're not doing now. So we tend to use this time for yourself or any guests that we have on and ourselves to give any shout outs to anybody that might be watching or anybody that might not watch it, but then watch it at some point and surprise them with a nice little shout out. Or if you just want to use the time to plug your YouTube channel or your social medias, you're more than welcome to do so. But we'll start with you, Jay. Have you got anybody you want to shout out, or do you want to give yourself a plug?
Oh, well, I would definitely recommend a few different YouTube channels. There's some that I really enjoy watching. We've talked about them before, I think, together. Matt Cochran, Aviation from Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. He's kind of got that Jared Dooley kind of humorous way of narration that resembles a sportscaster. It's really fun to listen to. I would definitely say go check out his channel, Matt Cochran Aviation, on YouTube. I think you'll love it. If not, you'll be shocked. It'll be hilarious. Mark Brandon Aviation from Montreal, excellent videos, many great catches. I've spotted with him before at O'Hare. Definitely go check him out. Milos Bessling, he has an airplane channel called Milos Airplane Fan. He's been commenting on my videos since the very beginning as well. He does a lot of Maastricht, Frankfurt, numerous European airports plane spotting. I think we mentioned Sean Lepp, of course, Sean Leppert from Lepp Aviation. I definitely recommend his channel. And then one more, a guy named Jelmer Niels de Boer from Amsterdam, Jelmer's Aviation. Look him up. He's got some good stuff. That's definitely some good shout outs for tonight for YouTube.
Fantastic. Any friends or family you want to shout out, or should we move on?
Hi, Mom.
Someone had to do it eventually.
That's right. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
But,
to my dad, thank you so much for all the wonderful times you went plane spotting with me early on, and especially, we still do some RC and some, control line stuff together. That's always a fun way to kind of get involved in the aviation thing and stay in it. And my dad's been a big inspiration for me in that way. So, shout out to him for that.
Fantastic. Joe, anyone you want to shout out while we're here?
Yeah, I have a couple of people to shout out, Tom. I want to give a shout out to my my two wonderful good friends who I'm with at the moment. A big shout out to my friend Rebecca and her partner Mark for having me up here in their home tonight doing this show with you and Jay tonight. And I want to give a shout out to my my brothers, my family and that in Bagnallstown in County Carlow here in Ireland, and of course give you the main host big shout out, Tom, of course, and big shout out to yourself, of course, Jay, and it's been great having you on the show with us. And I want to give a shout out to another good friend of mine who I was helping today, Paul Kelly is his name, and a big shout out to his family, of course, as well, and that as well. So that's and of course all my good friends on Facebook who follow me, and on Instagram as well. A big shout out to all of them as well, Tom, and thanks again, as I say, for having me as your co-host as well.
You don't need to thank me, it's fine.
Tom, absolutely appreciate it. It's great like for well, it's the thought that counts, my good friend, and as I say, four wonderful great shows in already. Where's the time gone?
That's right.
Plenty more to come.
Before you know it, you guys will be doing your 100th show. I know. You got something great going here, guys.
Well, now I'll have grey hair by then.
Well, Tom, I think I'm starting to get a few grey hairs at the moment, as far as I know. But me beard is actually kind of gone a bit grey, but I don't mind that, as long as that only goes grey. I won't complain.
I'm so glad you said beard. Let's. I'll give a few shout outs here as well.
Yeah, do.
So Jay, I'll give you a big shout out as well. Content is like fantastic. I can't believe I hadn't found you any sooner. But anybody that's watching that doesn't follow or has never seen Jay's work, I highly recommend checking it out and giving him a subscribe at the same time, because his work is fantastic. And for the fact that you've given us your time this evening as well, or this afternoon to you, to come and chat to us. So big shout out to you.
Well, thanks guys, I appreciate it greatly.
You're very welcome, Jay.
Very welcome. Big shout out to you, Joe, for excellent work again this evening as a co-host.
Thanks very much, Tom. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, very, very good. As per normal, I'll give a massive shout out to frontline workers, not just here in the UK, but around the world, for their continuous effort during this difficult time, which we will pull through.
Here.
Chins up, and that we'll get through as one. So massive shout out to them. I'm just trying to think who else to give a shout out to, really. Hi, Mum.
There you go.
Good man, Tom.
But
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot so much, guys. I really have. I always love talking aviation with anybody who wants to, and thanks so much for. Also to Ryan Bomar, because he's one of the ones who was listening too, and
Ryan
kind of informed me of your show. Yeah, he's got a great. Yeah. He's talking about somebody who's got a great channel as well. He's definitely got a great channel.
Joe knows him.
Don't forget, Tom. Don't forget Ian Hartley's just after giving a shout out there. He said, "Don't forget me." He says.
Not after last week. No.
Hi, Ian.
Big shout out to Ian as well. I'll tell you what, who I haven't shouted out. The channel sponsor, airspotters.com.
Yes.
Now, they've been very kind to sponsor me for a while now with my aircraft model reviews. Massive shout out to them. And we've got some big projects coming up in the future, so definitely want to keep an eye on. But yes, but Jay, thank you again once again, and we'll definitely have you on again at some point in the future.
I would be honored. Thank you very much.
If you want to,
Very welcome.
what we'll do is we'll wrap up now. So, Jay, if you want to say bye to everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, everyone. You look after yourselves.
No,
Ian Hartley.
no, Joe. I said Jay. Jay.
Oh yeah, Jay. A big goodbye to you, mate, and keep in touch as well. I'll be sending you a few messages on Facebook to make sure everything's going well with you, and we'll keep in touch always. And of course I follow you on Instagram as well. So it's good. So we won't be breaking off contact anyway. And thanks for being on the show with us. And it was great chatting about everything to do aviation wise and everything like that, my friend.
Guys.
You know, I meant for him to say goodbye to everybody, right?
Sorry, Tom.
Wings as eagles, guys. Keep on soaring. Really. I mean, it's.
Oh, we will.
It's fun.
Brilliant. Jared, now it's your turn.
Thank you, Tom. Good. I can blabber on, can't I? But listen, Tom and Jay, it's been a pleasure being a part of another epic show, and long may it keep going, and we look forward to having you back on again. And thanks to everybody who did tune in tonight as well. And stay safe to yourself, Tom. You too as well, Jay.
And before I say goodbye, next week, I completely forgot about this. Next week, we have a young chap on who is an aircraft illustrator. So he draws pictures of planes, and he does it from doesn't look at a picture to draw them. It's just purely by hand sort of thing. So we'll be showing off his work next week. So if you're interested in that, come give us a watch next week. But his name is Marco Barrett, and he'll be answering questions. And like I said, we'll be doing a visual podcast next week. So we'll be showing you all of his work, and it is top class. It's absolutely fantastic. You wait till you see it.
Awesome.
I'll definitely tune in.
You better. But no, we'll wrap it up here, and I'll say goodbye to everybody. So a big thank you everyone for watching. Jay for your company, Jer for your company, and
thank you, Tom.
And we'll do this again next week. But for now, continue to look after yourselves, stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Take care, Tom. Bye, Jay.
Bye bye.